around here.
Yo, why is it got to be about the Italians?
Recording started.
What are you doing?
If it's got to be one or the other, it's got to be Irish or the Italians, one or the other.
Mike, we got to find a bigger hat for your head, Mike.
Yeah, it's called a sombrero. Thanks. If you hear me yelling, I'm yelling at my kid because he's not doing well in baseball.
Just letting everybody know that this meeting is recorded, being recorded. Go ahead, Mr. Weldy.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you. Welcome to the April 28th, 2021 Lower Southampton Township Supervisors Work Session. The work session was advertised to begin at 6:30 p.m. We're beginning now, and this session is being held virtually and was advertised as such. That being said, I'd like to welcome the other four supervisors, Mr. Kutsaratis, Ms. Cummings, Ms. Kaplan, Mr. Shannon, also our Public Works Director, Mark Mcdonald, our new Park and Recreation Director, Walter Mulholland, Solicitor Frank Dillon, and Township Manager Joe Galdo, and also Mike Italia, our BCO. So, Joe, I'll turn it over to you, and we can go from there.
Sure. As well as Ryan Smith is on.
Ryan Smith, the fire marshal.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Well, we haven't really had a large group or allocation of time for a traditional work session. So what I wanted to do is kind of real quick go through our finances real quick for 2020, do a quick synopsis of what we're seeing in that first quarter for 2021 also. Pete, if you could put the slides up.
Give me 1 second.
Thank you. So I'll kind of start as Pete's getting that up. Everything kind of ran true to form as far as on the revenue side, kind of what we projected it to be. The real estate taxes came in fairly well at a clip of 97%. Your local enabling taxes, which is a grouping of your per capita tax, real estate transfer tax, EIT, mercantile, local service, and a small amount for amusement devices. So you see right there, we were lower than last year by a little bit over 430 some odd thousand. So we collected about 94% there. Still relatively good, but still lower than the previous year. Court fees and fines, of course, were impacted with COVID. Interest earnings with the economy, the economic decline that we had in 2020. Your interest rates went from 1.10 to basically 0.10%. So that's why you see that drastic reduction in interest earnings. Rents held pretty true to form. Licenses and taxes pretty much the same. Administrative fees is basically a small component from the escrow side to a 10% administrative fee component. The construction fees, you can see on Mike's side that they did they did very well last year at 935,000. Franchise fees came in almost, they're on the decline, and we all know that that's a declining thing or source of revenue going into the future due to the fact of Netflix and so forth, things like that. Other revenues is just a composition of various items. Could be the selling of Mark's public works vehicles and so forth, as well as insurance reimbursements. So you can see last year we took a little bit over $11 million. This in 2020. In 2020 we were at $10.3 million. So we basically came in around 92% as far as the revenue side. Pete, if you could go do the expense side. On the expense side, again, this is a high-level summary side. Your supervisor payroll and expenses, that's a myriad of costs. That's basically anything, your supervisor stipend, the township manager's expenses, or township manager's salary, administrative staff, healthcare, pension contributions, and so forth. It's as well as payroll taxes. So you can see over there was a slight uptick in that area, 568 versus 498. And as far as administrative expenses, hold on, I'll give you a little bit more detail. Hold on. The administrative expenses are basically your computer maintenance, computer supplies, your payroll service, and so forth, and any postage. So over there, you saw a slight increase in that particular area. Tax collection, that being a new year for the tax collector, came in at 155,000. And that, again, that's a composition of the commissions that the tax collector gets, as well as the earned income and various tax fees that Berkheimer and Keystone Collections also get, those percentages. So it's not all going to the tax collector per se. The solicitor expenses, you have combination of Frank's organization as well as Labor Council. You got the capital side, and that capital expenses is more of the small things in nature, and a lot of that is dealing on the public works side. And that's kind of where we capture general expenses, any equipment, rental and maintenance, telephone expense, and so forth is there. Engineering, on the engineering side, you got 129. There was a slight uptick over there as opposed to the previous year. Maintenance expenses basically were the same. The police department expenses, again, most of that is predominantly payroll related. And if you have an increase on the CBA, you see the 6.8 versus the 6.4 from the previous year. Fire marshal expenses.
Joe.
Yes.
Can I ask you a question? The column on the left says year to date, right? YTD?
Yeah.
Okay.
That means at 12, that means 12/31/2020.
Well, when it says last year, then is last year 2019?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yep. So the zoning hearing board, you can see there was a decrease in the expenditure side on that. And that again is due to the us going out with Barry Eisert and Associates on that side. There was a slight payout from Jeff in those numbers of 484, so it actually would have been a little lower than that on the normal circumstances. Public Works, basically, you're not really going to have a lot of savings there because a lot of the things that Public Works does typically does come out of your O1 fund, and your liquid fuels dollars, which is in another particular fund, is only appropriate to use that for liquid fuel related items. So you're going to see that typical expenditure, even though we did do layoffs and even though there was savings on the healthcare, you still see the expenditure there being at 882 versus 896 in 2019. Stormwater, there was a little bit more. Mark hit some stormwater issues that he wanted to take care of for the township. The community development, that's a composition of the Chamonix Activity Center. I believe it's the band, Tri-County Band. Hold on 1 second.
Hey, Joe.
Yes,
Joe,
sir.
how was the permits this year versus last?
I can give you that in a second.
All right.
2 seconds. Yeah, the predominant amount was the Chamonix Activity Center in Tri-County. Basically, hold on 1 second. On the community development side, that was the large expenditures. Okay, going back on the permit side, there was a slight decrease on the actual building permit side, but in 2019, I believe there was a couple large permit development projects that basically is the reason why there was a slight decrease in this given year. But for the most part, Mike's area under the zoning side did very well on the revenue side.
Okay.
As far
Thank
as yes. Any other questions on that? All right, prior year taxes. That was something that came out of the blue. There was a previous expenditure that was due. I believe it was a particular refund that was mandated for us to do that. The transfers, again, the 1.39, their transfers leaving your general fund, going to your it could be to your capital reserve, which is typically around $700,000. A large amount going to the library, which is basically around 600,000 and change. And so they represent the typical expenditures there on the transfer to other funds. The total expenditures came in at 11. Hold on 1 second. The total expenses came in for 2020 came in at 11,366 versus 10,555 in 2019. So in this respective year, the general fund took a hit of fund balance of almost $1 million, and that's kind of what we projected it to be. So again, even if we do get any dollars from the federal government in that new plan that they're talking about, again, in that 1 year alone, we lost almost $1 million. And even though we took all those other precautionary measures, dealing with our personnel, we still were impacted by $1 million. Now, as far as 2021, Peter, if you could put that up. Thank you, sir. Okay, in 2021, everything is kind of staying true to form here for the most part. Your real estate taxes are actually slightly up, and I would tend that's the tax collector coming into her having completed one official year under her belt. So I think that's why you're seeing that number kind of spike right there, but that'll eventually smooth out. Your local enabling tax, again, that is a mixture of your per capita, your EIT, your LST, business privilege, and so forth. Right there, that local enabling tax in the previous year, what we did is kind of smooth out a receivable, and we pushed the receivable. Since this year will be more challenged, we pushed about 200,000 into this year, and that's why you're seeing your revenue being slightly higher right now at that 968 clip. Court fines, again, you're being impacted by COVID. The same thing with interest earnings, with the economic climate and interest rates being low. That's why you're still even behind a previous year. The rents are staying true to form. Grants, none this year. In the previous year, there was a small grant. I think that might have been for vests for the police, off the top of my head. Licenses and taxes. Hold on 1 second. Let me look at that one. I have to get back to you on that one. That's a small amount that I'm just wondering what that is, to be honest with you. I'll double check that for you, but that's around 3,900 versus 42 last year. Administrative fees, again, that's from your escrow amounts. The construction fees, as you can see, 305 versus the 113. So again, even though we're doing a slew of fees or building permits and so forth, we're kind of a little bit behind in the previous year. And again, that could be development related. As far as franchise fees, you're staying true to form for the most part. Other revenue, again, that difference between the 6 and the 14,000 was the selling of a couple of public work vehicles, I believe. So right now your revenue is at 1.4 versus last year at 1.3. So we're staying fairly good. You got basically 15% over there, 15.5%. A snapshot in comparison as 331 on 2020 side, we were at 12%. So the revenue is a little bit up, which is good. But I just wanted to give you a snapshot on that. Pete, if you could do the expense side. Thank you, sir. Again, the composition, your supervisor payroll and so forth, that's the supervisor stipend, that's the township managers pay the administrative staff, that's pensions, healthcare, payroll taxes, and so forth. So right now you're seeing a slight uptick on 192 versus 149. In the previous year, what you do is you kind of bifurcate the funds that you work with. We have not done that yet in this given year, so that will smooth out and the expense will taper down as we go into the other months, because you'll see more pickup on the sewer fund, a little bit on the sanitation side, and so forth. Administrative expenses, again, that is basically all right. Administrative expenses, again, is your computer maintenance, your computer supplies, your payroll service, your audit fees, and so forth. So you're seeing that amount there at 49. There definitely is, I believe off the top of my head, a $16,000 payment to Premier Technologies that's in there, and that's a large chunk right there. Tax collection expenses, again, that is basically the tax collector's commissions as well as the commissions for Keystone and Berkheimer and Associates, as well as any type of supplies or printing issues. As far as solicitor expenses, we're staying true to form as opposed to last year, in consideration of last year. The capital expenses, Again, the capital expenses is general expenses, equipment rental, maintenance, postage, telephone expense, and so forth. And that's is a little bit lower in this snapshot at this quarter, first part of the quarter. Engineering expenses are actually on the decline right now. Maintenance expenses are staying kind of flat right now. The police actually are kind of staying true to form as opposed to in condition to last year at 1.4 and at 1.4 in the 2020 snapshot. Fire marshal expenses again are on the downside, and that'll be picking up as Ryan brings in an additional employee in that, and we kind of try to make that a little bit more robust for him in the fire marshal side. On the zoning side, again, you're seeing the savings there by having the outsourced Barry Isaac over there, so that's working pretty good. Again, public works expenses, you're seeing a little bit of a decline there, but again, that could be because you had some snow events, and as opposed to the previous year, you didn't have as much, so this year is a little bit lower. Street maintenance, very de minimis amount right now. Community development, again, that's the Chamonix Activity Center, and it could be the Tri-County Band and so forth. As far as the insurance deductible, that's the one item that was a discussion dealing with the litigation. That's $10,000 right there. We have some workers' comp issues that are police related. You see an expense of $6,804 there. There are no transfers right now going on. They will happen later, probably in the midsummer section. Total expenses right now at this snapshot at 3/31 in 21 versus 2020 is 2.178 versus 2.283. So it's actually on a decline. So we're managing the expenses a little bit better, but nonetheless, we still have a negative result from operations of $730,000. But last year it was $958. So it is on a decline, and we'll manage that approach as one revenue comes in as well as the expenses go out. So any questions on that?
I do, Joe.
Sure.
The first slide for comparing 2019 to 2020.
Yep.
Could you get back to that, please? The supervisor's payroll and expenses.
Yeah.
So you're saying,
That again, that is basically
no.
on the expense side. That is the supervisors, the township manager, administrative staff, unemployment, FICA and Medicare taxes, health insurance, pension expenses, other group benefits, casualty insurance, and dues and subscriptions and memberships.
That's all under supervisor's payroll and expenses.
Yeah, it's all
Not
under
under
that general expense line on it. Yep.
So wouldn't that be under administrative expenses?
No, the way the chart of accounts have been done over the years, administrative expenses basically are general expenses, postage, vehicle expense, payroll service, audit, other accounting, computer supplies, computer maintenance, and credit card fees. That's how it was set. That's how it was set up prior to Joe Galdo being here, and probably prior to the last two other finance directors.
Well, would you consider, and I don't know, it's just a question, making a different line for that? Because
all that is that title is basically a compression of all those line items I called out to you.
Yeah,
that's all that is. And all I'm
understand.
doing is just giving you a summary, high level recap of those expenses.
I get it. All right.
But they're all based on the chart of accounts, and the auditors they go through our chart of accounts, and they're in comparison. Everything is registered up with the state, so we're not out of the norm in having that little typewritten supervisor payroll and expense. That's how it's been for umpteen years. But that's based off of your line items. I get what you're saying, but that's how it's been. But it's nothing out of the normal that you might not see in the other respective townships.
Joe,
Wait a minute. You said it's not out of norm that you wouldn't see in the other township? I didn't hear your last sentence.
I said it wasn't out of the norm of what you would typically see in other respective municipalities or townships. All this is a summary.
No, I
If I
understand. I
give you the
understand
chart
what
of
it is.
accounts, you're gonna spend all day and with various line items. This is a high-level summary, and that's all it is, and that's why I'm defining for you what supervisor payroll and expenses are.
I understand. I just
Joe,
wanted clarification on it.
Sure, yes, ma'am.
Joe, quick question. It's Kim Kutsaratus. Could it say supervisor and management or supervisor and department
I
head?
mean, I could call it whatever. All I'm saying on that particular thing is just how the financial statements are written and based off of the chart of accounts that are in the system. I could certainly, redact it and call it something else on it for like a future recap summary. I could pull it an explanation or call it or tweak it something else. I just used what that group call center is called, and that's what it is: supervisors, payroll, and expense. But I can change it. That's not a problem.
I agree.
Kim,
I
I
got
agree with you.
Yeah, that's what I'm exactly. Yeah, I was kind of feeling you out there, but it's kind of where I thought you were going with it.
I was.
Yeah, maybe in the future, Joe, we could just put, supervisor, management, or department heads in there.
I could certainly tweak it and call it. I got it. That's not a problem.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Deb.
Thanks.
Is there any other questions out there?
Nope, not for me.
No.
Okay.
No.
All right, so I mean, I just wanted to give you a kind of a quick synopsis real quick. And again, once we see, April, May, and June, I'll give another presentation. Of course, I'll change that particular line item expense name, but I will provide that with you so you can see the next grouping of 3 months, so you could have a better understanding of what's coming through and what's not coming through. So if revenue is going to be short, this is probably the months that's where it's going to hit, because this is where, COVID first hit is basically at this period of time, the previous year.
I think it's a great summary, Joe. Thank you.
No
Yeah,
problem.
thanks. Thank you for the update. It's good to know.
No problem. I'll have basically all the department heads go around. I'm going to actually start with Walter, so he can kind of give you a quick update. I also did talk to the pool vendor. So what we decide tonight as far as, dates of service and the length of service will determine the actual costing. So they're kind of waiting off on us for us to provide them with a grouping of dates and dates. So Walt, if you want to jump in, feel free, sir.
Okay, sure. So like we talked about earlier today, the pool proposal, looking at starting on July 10th and going through August 29th. And my thinking with that was there's a lot of maintenance that has to get done for 2 years of the pool not being open. I took a walk through there today, and there's a lot of things that need to be fixed and cleaned and all that kind of stuff. And I figured also try to avoid the big holidays with all the COVID restrictions we have to go through with the health department. Trying to avoid those big holiday weekends, I think, would be a good plan to get us back started this year. Starting fresh from missing last season and me coming in now. So I figured those dates would be good. It's 51 days the pool will be open. I counted back the last couple of years, it was 101 days. So it'll be exactly half of the season. And I figured we take that into account with all the programming and pricing and things. And let's see. Also having there maybe a snack stand would be just like a little limited kind of stuff with the bottle prepackaged stuff, make it much easier for the COVID restrictions on that. So I figured that would be good for the pool. And then wanted to do summer camp, and I wanted to start that June 14th and go through the end of August, or August 13th, so 9 weeks of camp. Again, with restrictions and limited lower amount of kids than normal because of the COVID stuff. And I'm meeting with my camp directors, 2 of them tomorrow and 1 on Monday, just to get a better feel of how the camp usually runs here and what we can improve and what we can do better and that kind of stuff.
Walter, where do you plan on running the summer camp? Is Furter out this year? The pool's closed and it'll just be at the Dolphin?
Furter was out. Yeah, the school district said we couldn't use that. So we just a Dolphin and the tot camp at Russell Elliott. the 3 to 5 year old.
Okay.
Are you thinking about changing the fee structure, Walter, for the pool? Because I know things were tossed around like daily, season, weekly.
So I wanted to keep doing more research on that. I've been looking at the rates. I couldn't find the exact daily rates that they had charged, and I believe it started in 2019, if I heard that right. They did do daily passes in 2019, and I wanted to get the exact rates on those. Wasn't able to get those yet. I'm trying to go through the paperwork on the desk here. But definitely for the membership, the season membership is going to have to be cut for sure. If we're only doing half the season, then it would definitely have to be, prorated.
So how would it work with, obviously we're going to have less people. Is it going to be a lottery, first come, first serve? Have you thought about that?
So, Bucks County doesn't really say. I talked to people in other townships, Bucks and Montgomery County, other pool, other directors, and there's no real strict limit. They're saying about 75% capacity they're looking at. But the main thing is just, I think, trying to get it open and get the dates out to the public first. But I was also thinking if we had to do a list, we could do, reservation kind of setup. There's plenty of sites like Eventbrite and those kind of things that we could use to have people go on and reserve their times.
So you really haven't made big time decisions on that stuff yet, right?
As far as the fees and all, I still want to make sure exactly how it worked prior.
Well,
so I can kind
If
of.
I could jump in, Walter, I mean, we really won't know the fee structure yet per se until we give the vendor the dates of service. So, right now, I think the past cost constraint was $128,000 off the top of my head. So if it's half in service, maybe they come back and say it's 70 or 80. Once we do that, and once we agree on the number, then we could go back in and see what we want to charge and break it apart that way. So we really won't know. We're going to try to break even as best as we can. If we could have a small profit, great. If not, it's about giving the service right now, and trying to balance the cost with the service. But we're looking for today basically is the board okay if we went by, let's say what Walt said at 51 days, is that okay to the board? And then from there, we could then negotiate with the vendor, and they're open, they know we're coming back to them. I had the discussion again today, and we could talk dollars and cents with them.
Well, Joe, have you had contact with American Pool? Are they willing to be flexible and adjust the dates? Because we had a date that ran us.
Yeah, I did mention that also. They are, and basically what I was expressing to them is possibly a later May payment, a June payment, a July, and then an August payment. Basically spreading it out in 4 to 5 payments, and doing it that way. But allowing us to at least have one more meeting in May to make a final determination. But the one bone of contention is being agreeable to the amount of days that Walter wants to run, and then coming back to us with a dollar amount. And if the board's okay with that dollar amount, then we will proceed and then and generate basically a costing structure that Sue made reference to.
Well, we have to charge more because we're going to have less days.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to cut their fees in half. That's my concern is, our days are in half, but I bet you our fees aren't.
I would expect it to come back. I would expect it to come back probably maybe a third higher than the half. So, if it's 128, if it was half, you're talking 60, but I would expect them to probably come back somewhere around that 80 criteria.
And the summer campers then from June 4th, I think Walter said June 14th, from June 14th until July the 10th at the Dolphin, they won't have access to the pool, correct?
And that's what I'm trying to figure out with the summer camp fees. If we don't have the pool going on there, and there's plenty of other activities we can do, I can definitely keep them kids busy and make it a worthwhile product for sure. But we have to make sure we get the dates right for the pool first. That'd be the first 4 out of 9 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, do we charge the same fee per week, without the pool as we do when the pool's open, or?
I mean, I don't think I wouldn't.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. It doesn't seem.
No, it's not right.
We're gonna do some marketing, Walt, with what's going to be available. I know you don't know the pricing yet, but telling people what's going to be available and then let them make their own decisions whether it's too expensive or not.
Yeah, and I can make sure, we have plenty of good activities start the year off, parties and things. Book a lot of the trips that I want to do, put them towards the front of the camp as well. So those are days that they're not on the site. They can do trips but missing the pool as much. And then we use the pool when it opens up in the back end.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Frank, we would probably need your service in dealing with some sort of COVID-related waiver, or if you did something previously that may have been generated last year. Walt would like to take a look at that.
Yeah, did we do one last year? I think we did. So
I think you may have had one on the sideline. Yeah, I think you may have generated one, but I'm not sure if Walt has access to that. So if you do have it, if you could send it over.
okay.
Thank you, sir.
Again, I mean, we might not have the demand, but what if we have more? You were saying less children for the camp. So how do we pick what grouping they are? Is it going to be, again, first come, first serve, lottery?
Well, I think a lot of that will probably come when you start getting responses to what's going to be available, right? It's kind of a movable object at this point, I would think.
And I think it would have to also depend upon the ages. You got to have a certain amount of ages per cohort. So you got to keep those groups together throughout the whole summer. So you can't have, all your kids in the 7 to 9 range. You got to mix them all up. So we'd have to break it down as far as that goes.
Okay.
So
Can you give us an
tonight
idea?
Go ahead.
Can you give us an idea about the repairs that need to be done since it's been closed?
Well, I took a walk through there today, and I don't know the exact, I couldn't give you all the stuff. We're going to go tomorrow morning and look through it again. But the pools have a lot of water in it. The benches look like they need some repairs and things. The bathing, the bathrooms could definitely be upkeeped. All that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And typically, Matt had the inside of the pool, if there was any tile or prep work that needed to be done, whether things need to be sandblasted, and he typically did a painting in there. So they typically painted it, if not every year, every other year. So that's some of the things that Walt would be working with the vendor that Matt used in previous years that he'll be able to get done and get the pumps up and running too, again, since it's been 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
So tonight we're being asked to make a decision on the summer camp dates and the 51 days of the pool.
Yeah, if we can. I mean, it's not if the board is okay with that. I mean, I don't know if we need a formal approval of it, but if there's any concerns or whatever, I think at a minimum, you would speak up tonight and say, that you want more days or you want less days. But that's what we're shooting for right now is the 51 days. And if that feels okay to the board, then we could go back and negotiate with the vendor.
So all you're looking for is a nod from the board to pursue along this avenue. You're not asking to vote because you don't have expenses yet.
Yes, sir. Correct, Frank.
Okay.
Well, it seems to me we have to start somewhere. Obviously, we all want to open the pool at some point. We have to start somewhere. Ideally, I'd love it to be more than 51 days, but if that's what Walter thinks, that's what Walter thinks. Maybe as time goes on, maybe he could make it a little longer than 51 days, but I'm fine with his recommendation.
Same here. It sounds like Walter and Joe had thought it out, through and through. I don't have any problems with it as it's been presented tonight, at least for us to look into it fee-wise.
I don't have any problem with it. It sounds like Walter's done his job so far. I know as soon as that is, but I think it's a good idea.
I'm good with it.
I'm fine.
So I think you got your marching orders.
Thank you.
You know, we're not voting on anything tonight. You're making a recommendation and the board wants you to pursue it.
Okay, we'll proceed then from that. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Walter.
Thank you.
All right, next up, I'll have the guy with the small spectacles talk. That's Mark Mcdonald.
Okay.
Hey, good evening, everybody.
Hello, Mark.
How are you? So let me tell you a little bit what's been going on. I mean, I know you see the public works reports every week, so you do have a good idea, but the courthouse work is going pretty well. New windows were installed yesterday and today. It'll be trimmed. They'll be trimmed out tomorrow and finished. We sent CKS Engineering the okay to advertise and bid out for new HVAC system. So that'll be over the threshold. We had Pico run a gas line at no charge to the courthouse, old courthouse, about 2 weeks ago. So, but guys did really good in there. New floors, all new painted. We took walls out, put some new walls in. It looks very good in there. I look forward to you all seeing it. So now cleanup day last Saturday, that went pretty well. I had never seen it before because they didn't have it last year. But a lot of areas got done that otherwise wouldn't have been. So I was very pleased with that. So, and if you saw the public works report, you got the other day, you saw a picture of a dump truck full of trash, tires, debris from Bridgetown Pike. We did that one block from the roundabout down to the train bridge by Langhorne Avenue. That was a mess. So I put 4 guys on that. We spent about 3 to 4 hours, cleaned it up good. And Ryan and his people, Ryan Smith and some of his people helped us with traffic control there. So I thank them for that. We're doing our best to keep up with grass cutting. And I don't know if you all know just how many places we do, but we have 7 or 8 storm basins. We have all the pump stations, library, the senior center, this township campus, the Dolphin Club, Russell Elliott. And we cut the ball fields twice a week. We try to do them every Monday and every Friday. That seems to work out the best. Hopefully in the later months, the grass will grow a little slower. So we get a little break on that. But for now, it's growing pretty good. So I'm going to try to get us back into TV and cleaning and grouting the sanitary sewers in the near future. That's been put on hold because of COVID-19. So, and in regard to the 2020 paving program, I had a 10-minute meeting with Cody Spadacino, another Italian name, Cody Spadacino from Tri-State the other day. And there's still some debate over the leveling quantities, the scratch code, as I call it. Tri-State Engineers has all the tickets verifying the material was put down on the streets, which is very important. Now, JDM, Morrissey, they've expressed a willingness to split some of the difference. And I think, Frank, I know you've been in contact with Cody over that, haven't you?
Well, my last contact was you and I were asking what was going on, and you mentioned the tickets, and John was going back to the one gentleman that was on vacation, and he was supposed to talk to him and come back with a recommendation that you and I were going to talk about and report to the board, but I haven't heard anything in the last month.
Or are you able to reach out to Cody?
Yeah, John was handling it. I can reach out to both of them. I'll make a note to do that tomorrow.
Okay, because Cody's the one who requested a meeting. He's the one I spoke with.
Who's he want a meeting with?
Well, I had a brief meeting with him, but he wanted to discuss what JDM, what Morrissey Contractors had proposed.
So you and I'll meet with Cody. Is that what you want to do?
I think that's a good idea. Yeah.
Okay.
What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, no, I agree, because we're already going into 2021 road paving program. We want to get this resolved and move forward. So, if we could come to some sort of accommodation, one that's good to the township and good to the vendor, so be it.
Well, I like the idea because Mark knows what he's talking about and I don't. So
I'm not in that one. Okay, well, that's about all I have to talk about at the moment.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks,
All right,
Mark.
then, I guess we'll go to Ryan. Are you still on the phone? And then we'll jump real quick to Mike.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Just wanted to thank all the volunteers who came out for cleanup day. We had about 75 to 80 people throughout the township, picking up trash. For the COVID-19 vaccine, if anybody is interested, Bucks is now accepting walk-ins at the Neshaminy Mall and Bucks County Community College. You can visit Bucks County's website. They have more information on there. I started the food drive back up. I shut it down for a little bit during the construction at the courthouse. So that's Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. The green totes will be outside. You can leave the food in there. And fire inspections are going good now that I have a full-time inspector. That's all I really have.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan.
Mike, did you want to go next, Mike?
Yeah, sure.
Please
You
fix
saw
your hat
the
first. Please fix your hat.
Hold on a second. Hang on. There we go. You good?
That's
I
better.
love you.
That's
You're
better.
killing me. Anyway, so the fee schedule revisions in front of you, you guys see that. Just a couple minor tweaks from the last one. We needed to revise that. Frank and I are working on the food truck ordinance there, Ed. Okay, so
Yeah.
just bear with me, sir. We'll get there. You saw the new zoning platform. Yes, sir.
I have one question about that, but go ahead with your report.
Yeah. Okay. You saw the new zoning portal is up. Feel free to click that link and look at that. That was paid for a couple of years ago, so we finally finished that. I just really appreciate Christina's help in getting me the maps and the layering from the county. So we got that all squared away. That'll be live in the next couple of days on the website, and it facilitates the basically the residents or business owners can go in, punch their address in. It tells them their zoning district, their setbacks, and all those questions that we field in the office every day. So it should reduce the amount of phone calls once people get used to it. It is busy. I have never seen a permit season like this, and it's only April. We're expecting it only to get busier. Between commercial, residential projects, the staff is working 150%. And I appreciate that. Kim, Susan, and Kevin, they're killing it. So, we're out in the street. We're looking at. I apologize for the background noise. We're out on the street looking at properties all over the place. Like I said, if people see stuff and it needs to be addressed, you got to send it in. Whether it's an email or a phone call, that's the only way we can be out there. We can't be in every corner of the township. So we're doing our best to get into these neighborhoods and get things cleaned up.
I like what I saw on the portal. I went on there and I really like it a lot.
Good. Yeah, I think it turned out really nice.
It did. It's user friendly. A lot of good information on there.
Right. And Joe and I are working on a permit software program as well that I believe can interface with it. So.
Hey, Mike, with the carts, does the county come and inspect what they're serving
Yes.
and how they're serving it and how they're cleaning the dishes and that kind of stuff?
Yep, they have to turn that license in to us when they make their application, and he did.
It wouldn't be the county, it would be the Board of Health, correct? County Board of Health
The
Department?
county board
Is that what that means?
that.
Okay,
Yes,
terrific.
that's what
Yep.
it means.
Yeah.
Just like you would for the restaurant, same deal.
Yep, same difference, yep.
So
What was their permit fee? Do you know, Mike?
What?
The permit fee that they had?
Not from here. Sorry, I don't know.
Oh,
well, right now we only have what was it? The traveling. I have it here. I'll get it. in a second.
Transient. It's a transient one.
Yes, the transient.
I think that might be like $125, $150 off the top of my head.
Something like that.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
for
So
what period of time?
right now it's for a year, I think, isn't it, Mike?
Correct.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
We were talking about where does the board want food trucks? Do you want them in the industrial district? Do you want them in the manufacturing district? Do you want them on municipal properties? When the kids, Mike's at a ball game, should a truck be able to pull up there and serve food?
I'm hungry.
We need direction from the board where you want such facilities available.
Well, my favor is none at all. But
Yeah,
I
that
also,
doesn't work,
You're
unfortunately.
not getting that.
I also understand that that's not possible. But so to some degree, I mean, you got other brick and mortar places, and I guarantee you're paying a hell of a lot more than $125 or $150 a year.
Right, but they're
So-
not coming out. That's the whole thing, is they're not coming, they're not coming out to the ball fields. They're not delivering ice cream in the neighborhoods. That it's all part of that entire picture. So it's not just the food truck at the Getty. This is Jack and Jill, Mr. Softy, or whatever, what have you, rolling around through the neighborhood. We have to make sure it's inclusive of all those things.
Mike,
Mike, do we have a distinction? Like, is there a distinction listed between a food truck that travels around neighborhoods selling ice cream cones and water ice, as opposed to a food truck that's parked permanently at a location for a period of 1 month, 3 months, 6 months?
Funny you say that. There's going to be. With the ordinance, those things will be defined. Ice cream, food truck, they're going to a baseball field, those type of places.
Now,
Okay.
one thing I don't want to see, because I think our athletic association would be upset with it also, is them having the ability to go to a baseball game. Even though that sounds great, I know the athletic associations have snack stands set up.
No, this wouldn't be where that happens. Like where I'm at right now, our snack stand's not open. So to have an ice cream or a food truck here to serve the public would be it. That's what we're referring to.
Well, we have snack stands on our fields for our athletic association. I imagine at some point they'll be opened again.
When they are, right.
I don't think they would appreciate, kind of like what Ed's saying, basically taking money out of their pockets too.
That's not the intent. The intent is to classify where they can and cannot go. That's what we're looking at. That's why we're going to define those, like Ray said. We're going to break it out to make sure it's very clear on what we're talking about, because it's not right now.
Yeah. And I'm not, that's why I'm asking the question, because we're not clear on what's wanted. It sounds to me that you don't want it in municipal areas. You don't want it on bustled in their street road. You want it in manufacturing or industrial areas where, say, the beer distributors are.
Right. And we're fine with that. We're just asking for what you want. This is the feedback part of it before Frank and I cranked us out.
Okay.
It has it just to put this in perspective. This ordinance was drafted in 1954, and it was updated in the 80s, and that was it. So that's where it's been sitting since.
So can we bring the one out from 1950 and use it?
Well, only if Mr. Softy and those guys can be there. I'll be fine with that. I like ice cream. Joe, don't answer that.
Hey, Mike, I have another question for you too. Something you may or may not know about.
Mm-hmm.
The old Trevo shoe store. I see activity there. It looks like they're doing something to the downstairs.
Yeah, just cleaning it up. It was a mess. But what I can tell you is that there is some people looking at it. Specifically, the smoke shop is looking at it. So I'm in discussions with him, trying to help him out a little bit.
Well, that's all part of the redevelopment of Brownsville.
Right.
Yeah.
The Trevos is waiting for the first shoe to drop.
Yeah.
And that hasn't happened yet. The board has expressed an intention of wanting to get Pertucci in, but we haven't been able to arrange that just yet. So
correct.
We'll
that is part of it.
At the end of May.
They were. Yep. When were they coming back with a sketch plan? Do we know that yet?
Well, probably the end of May is what we were thinking.
Okay.
All right. That could be very good for us, I think. I hope anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're working at some other properties as well. The other thing of note is the cemetery. I'm trying to clean up a mess back there. Stonemore, also known as Sunset Gardens, in the back right corner is a disaster. So we're bringing that in front of the zoning hearing board. We're getting DEP involved, Bucks County Conservation District, our engineer, to try to clean that mess up. So.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, please do, Mike, because I know maybe some of the other board members have gotten a phone call, but I had a resident reach out to me and she was very concerned about some of the things that they've done there in the past.
Yep.
And, you know, I told her we would be on top of it. I know she's called the Conservation District herself. I spoke to them and they were, Conservation District was pretty mortified with some of the things that have happened there. So we definitely have to keep a close eye on that for sure.
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of it happened during COVID, and it just you know, it's just unfortunately a casualty of that.
So they were scheduled before the zoning hearing board. That was postponed while we try and get this in order. So we're all aware of it, and if appropriate, we're gonna meet with the applicant and go over the issues that need to be resolved.
Right.
I've been in touch with the attorney, as has Mike.
Okay. So Petrucci still has some interest then, right?
Yes,
Yes.
they do.
Okay,
And I'm working on some other properties as well.
good, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, the laundry down there is in Trevos. That's a big problem too, right?
That whole strip is a mess.
Yeah.
And I can't get that guy to come to the table at all.
Yeah,
So if anybody knows him, that would be great.
yeah. All right.
Thank you, Mike.
Yep, you got it.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Mike.
Joe,
Yep, and then.
we have 8 minutes, and I think we're supposed to get an update from the farm and something about the parade, right? Aren't we going to talk about that?
Yeah, Rose McMenamin's here from PlayWiki Farm. We could certainly do that part.
Okay.
Miss McMenamin?
Yes.
Hi, Rose. If
Hello, Rose.
you want to give a brief summary of what your request is for tonight's meeting?
Yes, thank you very much. First of all, hi, everybody. How you doing?
Hello, Rose.
Hi. Yes, the PlayWiki Farm Foundation doesn't normally have to ask for permission to have events, but due to the pandemic, we certainly have to come in front of the Board of Supervisors to get approval to move forward. Now, we do have a tentative schedule that is in place, and I have not done anything further with that, even with vendors. The host for the June event, which is Mommy's Little Black Book, Jen Flannery, has everything under control pertaining to the event with regarding the CDC and also the health department and insurances. So everything is in place for that. However, we have not confirmed anything with any of the vendors, even though she did advertise it. So we're prepared to move forward to actually go according to the protocol of the CDC for all events. And Jen presently, and even last year, ran events under the pandemic and through the CDC, and everything went very, very well. So we certainly have the protocol in place. So we're really not concerned about that. So we're just hoping that we get approval for that, and also approval, if possible, for the beer and wine garden, which includes Only the Buck and Naked Brewery.
Rose, you said she has everything under control with the CDC. Can you tell us what that entails?
Well, she follows all the rules and regulations of the CDC and also the health department. So she has everything in place regarding the protocol for how to run an event, an outside event.
Rose, you said you previously didn't have to get permission. I don't recall how it's been done in the past. Why don't you refresh our recollection?
Well, we, we're a nonprofit 501c3, and we have our own mission to accomplish. And that part of that is the fundraising in order to do the projects that we want to do at Play Wiki Forum on the grounds and also on programs. So this is what I have had to do every year, is just ask permission for the beer and wine garden. I have not had, because we just run events and that's part of our fundraising effort. But due to the pandemic, of course, I have to ask permission because the property is owned by the township, not by the foundation.
So are you having any indoor events? Are there going to be any indoor events at all?
No, everything is to the outside. There's nothing going on the inside.
Okay. So, with the amount of people that we have coming to these events, especially the food truck rallies, we have people from all over, as you of course know. It's a wonderful event. So many people come. Is that going to be able to be controlled with the amount of people?
No, we have to control it. So
that's what I'm saying.
Well, we control the parking, everything is controlled. We sort of have our numbers prepared. I did meet with Ryan, and, Ryan is very aware of, the regulations regarding this, and we will follow those. We just have to see, and at some point during the evening, and it's only a 3-hour event, so it starts at 5 and it ends at 8. That when that number is reached, whatever it is based upon in June, then we will be able to know that at the door, with the gentleman that parked the cars. So.
Okay, that's what I was asking. I was trying to find out how that was going to be controlled. So there's going to be some sort of counting or something.
Oh yeah, well we'll have the counters, the little clickers that to count the people. So we'll be able to keep that.
There could be 5 people in a vehicle. There could be. Still, it's not by just vehicle.
We're definitely going to have to monitor that, so we will
okay.
do that.
And then we don't know, I guess, are we getting any kind of guidance from the Bucks County Department of Health on what their guidance?
They're involved. They're involved because of the food trucks.
I mean, as far as the CDC compliances.
Absolutely, they're involved.
Okay.
And I think as more of us get vaccinated, and if it being an outdoor event, if more get vaccinated and it's an outdoor event, with the CDC's discussions coming out now, they're talking about if you're vaccinated, you don't have to be wearing a mask. But if it does get to the point where, numbers do show or grow at the function, then, we could always say people have to have masks on or whatever. But we'll try to do our best to monitor everything that goes on over there and make sure that we are in compliance, and that also that people have a good time.
But not everybody's going to have the vaccine. I'm just saying not everybody wants the vaccine.
Sure, and the hope is that the vast people go out and get vaccinated. I'm sure there's some that won't, but I'm also sure that some will. And all we can do is hope that people that are at the function are vaccinated. And if they are, then, the CDC guidelines come into play. And if they're not, then the CDC guidelines are also in play.
Yeah. The guidelines were also in public when you were around people who were strangers, people you didn't know, that masks were still encouraged.
Yes, they were saying yes, that right now they're talking about masks. If you're out and let's just say it's you and your family sitting there sitting down on a table, then I guess you've all been vaccinated, you wouldn't have to have it on. But if you're walking around and there's 30 people around you, then it'd probably be wise to be walking around with a mask on.
Well, we'll have all the necessary signage and everything, working with Ryan and now Walt, who are very familiar with all of this, that we will do the right thing. And that's our intention. We will not go above and beyond what is supposed to happen that evening, So the first one is in June, and we have second Fridays until October. So, and weather permitting too. If it rains, you certainly can't have the event to the outside. So
Who's going to be monitoring during the event as far as masks? I mean, there's going to be so many people there. How is that going to be, if you know how that's going to be monitored?
No, I just think it's just what you see, you know, and if you approach somebody, we're supposed to approach somebody, we have to find that out.
And maybe, Rose, maybe there can be like 1 or 2 formal entrances, you know, where people enter, you know, maybe at the top of the parking lot, there's an entrance there that's posted, and maybe an entrance somewhere else, maybe walking down the driveway, I don't know. And then,
well, they will,
yeah,
right? We will do that. And we will also now I haven't advertised this, so but during the wording of all of this, everyone will be very, very aware of what their responsibilities are with their mask, and just to make people comfortable. But I really think at this point, people know what they have to do. And if there's a problem, we certainly would approach them and ask them if there's a problem with it.
That's my question. Who's going to approach them? I don't think a resident should be approaching another resident.
Well, we could have, if just follow along what Ray was saying, we could have people as they're coming out of the car requesting that if they have not been vaccinated, they're to wear a mask. I'm sure we can only go so far. We're not going to be the mask police.
That's my point.
We're going to try to do the best we can and try to mitigate people if people are walking around and not wearing a mask and acting in a let's say an unprofessional manner. Then we will have certainly someone there, whether it be the fire marshal's office or somewhere where the police could mention it, do a walk around or whatever. But we're going to try to do the best we can and also have an event. And it seems other townships are doing it. So
I know we want to do the best we can, but I want to do a good job, not just the best we can.
Deb, the one thing that we have at Playwicky Farm, and this is the board, our board, the Playwicky Farm Foundation board, we have shirts that actually show our logo, but also we are noted as staff. So we will be wearing our shirts, and we only have 7 of us. So we will be able to actually talk about that and actually be the person possibly to approach. So if there's a problem.
As long as there's a doable plan in place, so this could be run without being irresponsible doing, not that I'm saying it's going to be irresponsible, but we have the big picture, not we're going to try to do our best without a plan.
Well, we'll have a plan. We always do. And we always, move forward with doing the right thing. So we're all there. We're working for the foundation. We're working for the event, and we make sure that everything is done properly.
Thanks, Rose.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Rose. Are we going to get another update in the agenda as item number 3, or will this be that? Joe?
It's an agenda item, so I think someone ought to mention, or Rose ought to just ask for permission to run these events in compliance with the guidelines. And since it is an agenda item, we ought to address it.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Rose. Anything else for the work session? Because we're 3 minutes over. Ed, do you want to give a brief parade update?
Yeah, I was going to do that later, but if you want me to do it now,
you can do it later, and maybe in your supervisor's comments or something like that. That's fine.
Yeah, that would probably be easier, I guess, because there's a lot of comments and questions that are going to be there.
Okay.
I think, anyway.
Sounds good to me.
I got a couple of nice things.
Make sure it's a part of it.
So, a couple of nice things I want to talk about, Ray, when we get to the point of where it makes some sense. All right.
Sounds good. Anything else for the work session?
No, sir.
Do we have to get out on? Again?
Yes, we have to leave this one and then go sign into the 7:30 one, right?
That is correct.
Correct.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you on the other side.
See you soon.